Hey everyone! What you're looking at right now is my notation floor mat. A little background on my classroom. I teach in a Lutheran school, so I give all my lessons in the church. This means I do not have a whiteboard or a projector to give my students large visuals in class. So to solve that problem, I created this notation floor mat. I took an old tablecloth, I think I got it from the dollar store, and I taped the staff lines onto it, and I even attempted a treble clef. So, I have my staff. To make it kinesthetic, I created these movable notation labels. So I guess this is a kind of iconic, it could still be symbolic notation. It's not exactly what they'd see in standard notation, but it gets them introduced to looking at music, how it moves up and down the staff. And as you can see, these are labeled. So this has to do with the pacing. I have notation that's labeled with solfege. I have notation that's labeled with note names. This is good for band lessons. I also have some unlabeled notes. So depending on the level of the student and how they're doing with reading, I could say, let's work on contour today. I'd get rid of the labels. And I'd say to one of my students, is the musical line moving up or down? Now, getting back to the kinesthetic part of this, I'd say, come up and change it so we have a musical line that's going down. And they may do something like this. Now, so we have the visual aspect of this, the kinesthetic aspect. We need the aural. And that simply comes in by singing the patterns. So I'll have a pattern up like this. And I may model singing it once. Do, re, mi. Then I'd have the class sing it. Do, re, mi. Now, sometimes you may have a student who's a little more advanced. They're doing really well with this. I may make it a little trickier. I'll sing do, mi, re. And I'll put this up and I'll say, does that match what I sang? Now, since they're an advanced student, they'll say no. I'd have them come up and change it so it would match what I sang. Do, mi, re. That way you can teach different levels. You may have students that need your support, need you to model it first. And then you have students who are ready for more advanced activities with this. And you can really mix it up in your class. Let's see, we covered the visual aspect, the aural aspect, and the kinesthetic. Oh, one other thing I do for the kinesthetic portion. Some students need to be up and moving to learn. So I may have them come up and practice stepping the music. I usually tape this much larger onto the floor, but to save time I'm going to use my floor mat. So I'll tell them, put your toes on the do line. Do. Step up to the re line. Re, re space. Step back down to the do line. Do. And I did that with my second graders and they picked it up really quick. The steps versus skips and lines that move up and lines that move down. Alright, so as for the size, this is a very large representation of music. So it's helpful for students who can't see so well. For my students who are overwhelmed by the size of it and need something right in front of them, I made individual notation cards. I usually give them some bingo chips and I'll sing a pattern and they'll try to mark it onto their own notation card. And then, of course, I'd show the correct answer on my larger floor staff. As for the color, this is not your typical black and white music notation, which can be hard for some students to read. I've also color-coded my notation markers. So all the do's are blue, re's are orange, me's are yellow. So all of these stand out pretty well against the orange, and it also gives students something else to attach the sound to. Maybe they know, oh, me's the yellow one, and it sounds like this. It also is helpful when I'm teaching recorder. I can make patterns up on this and give them some worksheets, and they'll color code or highlight their own music to match the floor staff. I know that was really fast, but I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you can use it in your own classroom. It's a really cheap investment, and my students have really loved it. As you can see, it's got some wear and tear because I use it almost every day in the class. All right, bye for now.